Welcome to this podcast. My name is Filippa Levemark, and I created this show so that you can listen in on the sessions that I do in hope that you might benefit from it as well. Maybe you are going through something similar yourself, or perhaps someone close to you is. Either way, I hope that you gain some insight, maybe some new perspectives and tools that can help you in your growth and healing journey. In this episode, Julia is struggling with accessing and expressing her painful emotions, and she wants to understand why that is. She also struggles with putting boundaries. So, welcome to listen in on this conversation where she actually very fast managed to understand why she feels unsafe expressing her negative emotions and also just expressing her general needs, and also how she can think around putting boundaries. Well, let's start. So, Julia, what do you want help with today?
Yes, so I was asking myself that yesterday because many things went on in the last months, and I tried because it was like one question I wanted to ask, and which question. So I was trying to get deep. What is the most the thing what mostly not get is kind of stopping me from being fully authentic, or fully authentic in every way, not just the positive good way. And that was the question, is how or why I think that my needs and my emotions are basically my needs and my negative emotions are not okay, or not not good, kind of are not valid to be or to exist, kind of, because this is what made me, or what brought me in this situation I am right now, and because I completely ignored my own needs and totally ignored my emotions, trying to bring the alarm, and I completely ignored them. And the question was why do I do that? Where is it coming from?
Yeah.
So this is my today's question.
So, just to bring a little bit of clarity, what is your situation right now?
So basically, we moved to the mountains about 3.5 years ago, and until then it was all fine. I guess it was here and then, but it was all fine. I never went into this sadness, really deep sadness. But here in the mountain, as you are in the pure nature, and you really have to deal with what is inside, you can't hide it. There is no distraction. We mirror each other clearly, super clear. So, and I would all the time say, no, this is not me. It's not my problem. This is the other person. The other person has to change, not me. And there were some moments where I would express myself and get an answer this is a lie. It's how can be my emotion a lie? And in the end, it was interesting because maybe it was not the full truth. Maybe I was not really truthful with my emotions in that moment. Basically, fast forward, I decided to stop this whole situation because at one point, I felt that my soul was dying out of not being able to come out of this sad situation, of this feeling sad every day, but sad about myself, kind of, that I didn't hear I didn't know that I have the right to have needs, and to speak up for my needs, and then to put limits, and to listen to my emotions, that also to the negative one. So this is the thing, it's the negative one which are causing me a big resistance of feeling that it's not okay to feel kind of sad, or negative emotions in that way. So in the end, yeah, we stopped that whole situation, and from a month, like I'm deeply digging of what was going on, like what went wrong, like what was basically to not repeat the same pattern again, to not repeat the same situation again. Right now, I'm like really trying to understand at what point I decided to not feel the negative emotions anymore, like to completely hide them, like really hide them.
Yeah. And just to be clear, you're speaking about a relationship, right? So you were sad in the relationship and then you decided to end that relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. And where are you right now with your, so to speak, negative emotions? Like what is true for you right now when you're experiencing something negative?
It's at the moment I'm still like kind of more and more getting closer to them. I could not cry for years. Like, just for you to know, I could not cry for years, which, like, what was going on? Like, and it was not that I was not wanting to cry, but I would like completely hide it. So now I'm like getting more and more close to that. I'm still not at the point that I'm like, I could just, like, I'm really impressed of some people who can just like cry in front of people. It's like, wow, like it's a, for me it's such a sign of strength to be able to do that. And yes, like basically this is the moment right now is going to find out what's the, I feel that there is something. And actually today I was thinking back in the childhood, what was like, because actually, as a kid, I guess we express everything freely, you know, like all the emotions, all the needs, without any taboo. So I was like thinking a bit of the timeline of the childhood, what was going on there. And as a kid, actually, I would scream if I would need attention. I would cry if I would need something and I didn't get it. I would like go and take something from my brother if I wanted. So like, but then something happened, and I think it might be in the kindergarten when we recently moved to Germany from Russia, and the kindergarten, the two teacher, the two women, like I didn't speak German, so I went there as a Russian speaking kid to a German kindergarten, and they would treat me like really unfair, like really. I think it's that because there is coming. The fact that I would not speak German. Oh. I think it's, I think this might be the moment. What happened? The fact of me not speaking German. They would be very really unfair. Basically punish me for things because I didn't understand, like I didn't speak the language. And if this was not enough, but this was like bad things, what they would do, they would it's a kindergarten in the 90s in Berlin. There was a corner with cockroaches, and if I wouldn't do something because I didn't understand, they would put me in this corner with the cockroaches. But the worst, I guess. No, God. Oh, I guess I pushed the button now. Oh, I think the worst was not, it was like really bad what they were doing, but the worst was that I could not tell my parents, because like when you move to a new country, I don't know why the immigrants sometimes feel like on like lower level. So you don't want to feel like ashamed or guilty for your kid doing whatever, like basically not talking the language. So I could never tell my parents. And I felt that if I would tell, they would even punish me more, maybe, because who knows, maybe I really did something wrong. And I stayed in this kindergarten for like 3 years with these teachers, and I don't know, like adapted completely on this bullying thing. Like they would laugh when we were eating on how I eat, and like it was really strange things. But yes, like basically, I feel that from that moment, like no say, maybe I I started to not have, or like to not be able to speak up for what I really needed or what was going on, what was really hurtful. So I guess from that moment, like I started to to learn that to not say anything, like to be. Oof. So yes, this was what I what I thought of today, and I already cried today of that. So I guess um, it might be that what is like kind of
It is exactly that. So let me see. Let me share what I get from this. So first, you're like, it's really hard for me to just access emotions. And immediately when you start talking, you're crying. So I'm just like, okay, well, you're already there. So that's brilliant. And secondly, when you look at like, I don't know why I don't feel safe with just like expressing who I am, when you literally can remember the exact time when you were punished for years for being who you are, and you didn't have a safe place to go to ask for your needs being met. You weren't able to have any needs, and you can't ask for them from people when you A, don't speak the language, and B, you're a child. So
but
that
it came today. I never thought of that it really was that, like from that moment I started to completely like shut down and being like this positive girl and like don't show anything anymore and don't show up.
yeah, and you had to do that. If you didn't do that, you would get punished, and you might face abandonment or punishment or not having a sense of belonging. So this was your survival strategy.
Today it's kind of like limiting me. So
Of course.
I
Yeah, of course, because you don't need to survive anymore, right? You don't need to shut down yourself to survive. So obviously, when you do that, you're sacrificing your authenticity for connection, right? So in order for me to stay connected to my partner, I need to, because that's what you were taught, to completely shut down myself, right? So that sacrifice hurts because you and your soul wants to be authentic. So obviously you're doing something that is against your own kind of inherent truth, but that's just your learned behavior of getting connection. That makes sense?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
how do you feel?
Oh. Oh. Oof. It feels good, like, to release things which were like there for, I don't know, so too long, definitely too long.
Yeah. Is it okay if we meet this kindergarten self? How old were you when that experience happened?
Like we moved, I was 4, so I guess I was maybe 5 when I went to the kindergarten.
Yeah.
Which was also like the first time I went to the kindergarten. My mom used to like stay with me at home to not go to the Russian kindergarten because it's people like teacher used to treat even worse the kids in Russia. So many moms keep the kids at home. But in Germany they had to work. They had to go to the language course. So
Yeah.
I had to go.
Yeah. So is it okay if can we go there a little bit? Because you're already starting to cry, which is great. So we just can see if there's more things there to release.
Mhm.
Okay. So the image that I get is if you visualize that you're with this 5-year-old, and maybe you're even in the room with the teachers. It's almost already clear what you need in that situation. Like you, in a sense, you need to be taken out of there because it's an abusive place, right? As a child, to be abandoned and punished for not speaking, it just doesn't make sense, right? It's not a healthy environment for a child to be in. So they were wrong doing that, right? So no child should go through abusive situations. That's just the harsh reality of this reality, especially in the 90s. So if you can imagine that you're going as an adult to this child, to yourself as a 5-year-old, and maybe just be with her. And I wanted to ask her what is she feeling right now? So you can see that you're there as an adult and she's there as a child. What is she actually experiences in the first kind of shutdown experiences that she had?
Like usually when things happened, I would like pretend I'm like dead, basically. Like I would not move. I was like super scared. Like I have some images of yeah, like being super sweaty, lying there on this floor, on this mat, alone in this corner, all the other kids in the other corner. And I couldn't even move because they would punish me for like moving in the time where we do the nap, like the siesta time. And I could see the cockroaches coming, like walking over me, because it was this like really old building in this in the east side of Berlin. And like I felt like no blood was in me, like come on, not like almost dead.
Yeah. It's interesting, sorry, that you're using the same language because that's what you said in the beginning, how you felt in the relationship.
I guess this is my like way to like when I feel threatened, I like I do as if I'm not there. Like I'm like
Yeah.
moving, like doing.
Yeah. And if you're not there, you obviously don't have any needs.
Yeah.
And any kind of emotion is a threat to that state because it means that you will get punished. Right? So it's very clear that everything is coming from this. And there might be other situations as well, but since this is active in you, this is definitely part of it. So I'd like you to maybe go to a situation in your mind where you had that, you can see your 5-year-old like in this shutting down experience, and just approach your child as an adult. And obviously your child is experiencing this like I'm going to be completely invisible, right? I'm going to be like completely like this, right? But what is the child, you as a 5-year-old, what are you actually feeling in that moment in the shutdown?
Scared.
Fear, yeah. And where now, if you tune into a little bit of that fear that you had then, where do you feel that fear in your body?
Like nowadays, it's like here.
Yeah.
It's hurting here.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense, because if you're withholding expression, so you're holding your throat, just for listeners, then that would make sense. So maybe just with your awareness on your throat, and perhaps tuning into this 5-year-old, what does she want you to know? What does she want in this fear state? It might be that she needs something from you. It might be something she's afraid to tell you.
Yeah, like she would love to just stand up and walk away, basically.
Yeah.
They say something or scream at them or whatever, like, I don't know, throw something, or like not being that, because it's like accepting what is happening, and like as if nothing is, as if everything is okay, no, like, but
Yeah.
inside it's dead.
Yeah, it's not okay. So can you allow her to do that? Whatever way that feels like you want to do it. It can be in your imagination, it can be in your physical body right now, but you can even imagine embracing her, holding her in her hand, and like walking with her, taking her out of this situation, but just being with her as a mature adult in this situation.
Mm. Oh, it would be nice.
What would she say? What would she scream or yell or say?
Then I didn't do anything wrong. Like, this is like, I'm not speaking the language. It's like nothing wrong. Like,
Yeah, I haven't done anything wrong.
hmm.
This is unfair.
Yes,
Why should I get punished for this?
yes. Like, what's wrong with this adults? Like, this is a 5-year-old kid and they're 2 adults.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Yeah. Why are you mean to me? Why are you punishing me? Why are you not loving me? Yeah. So as your adult self, can you meet this child and tell her what is true? And if you would tell her what is true, what would you tell her?
You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Like, anything. You eat the right way. You did what you can. You did what you understood.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you are loved. I love you.
Sorry.
And towards your child, you are loved. I love you. You don't have to shut down. You don't have to be scared. I'm here for you. You deserved a better adult, a better caretaker, and I am here for you now.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
maybe take her out of that situation. Go and play, go and do something else.
Mm.
So if you tune into the throat now, what is happening there right now?
It feels better. I'm still like thinking of like writing a letter to these teachers.
Yes.
um,
Yeah. And I think
I
that's,
kind of never.
sorry?
And I never like connected to them. Like, what was wrong with them? Like, what? Like, 2 adults, 2 women.
Yeah.
And this to a kid, like, poor woman. Like, I would love to talk to their souls.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we also have to remember that in this time, I don't know so much about Germany in this time, but this is what my feeling is. There was these kind of ways to raise children, which was based on, like, if we put them in a corner and ignore them, they will behave. Like, if we don't meet them in their upsetness or in their whatever, then this is a good thing. So even though they might have felt somewhere inside that this felt off, they probably trusted authority over themselves. And if authority told them this is how we do it here, then they're following that kind of order, which is, funnily enough, a German history thing. Just follow the orders and authority. And so
Yeah.
and people who do that, they have just never been confided in their own authority. They have never been trusted to lead themselves. And it's a generational thing, and it's not just Germany, obviously it's the whole world, where authority issues is a real trauma, right? We have to do what our parents say, we have to do what the teachers say, we have to do what the government says, we have to do whatever, right? It's like, let's not listen within, let's listen without. So I'm curious, since this is a reality is always a mirror of what we're going through ourselves, if there's anything that happened in you related to authority, because obviously they were authority to you and you started listening to them.
Mm. Well, I think at that moment, the only authority I might have had was my parents, and they were strict. They were very strict. Like it was, as I said, like when we came to Germany, like I don't know why my parents felt like less worthy.
Yeah.
So everything, their authority, and they saw like basically any people who spoke German or were like German as their authority. They would do like what they say.
Yeah.
So if my teacher say, I don't know, I didn't know where to put the how do you say, like
The skipping rope.
And I put it in the wrong place and it was wrong behavior, they probably would listen to it. Like they probably would even right.
Yeah. So even there like the cycle where you couldn't confide in your parents about something that happened to you because they would have probably believed the teachers instead of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you see how corrupt that is when you don't have safe authority? Because your parents didn't represent safe authority either, right? And if they truly had authority within themselves, they wouldn't feel lesser than. Because you only feel lesser than when you have like a parent-child relationship to someone. Okay, you know better than me, right? You are better than me because you are a parent, I'm a child. So that relationship is already there quite off. And so if your parents weren't demonstrating correct authority, then you would have a corrupted relationship to them, which obviously made you in certain, like in your childhood, just following what they said instead of tuning into yourself. And years of doing that, of course, you're going to feel you're not authentic because you don't have the inner authority that you were supposed to develop, which only comes from authenticity, right? So it's not a surprise that you then believe, oh, I can't have emotions, I can't have needs, because you couldn't, right? Being authentic is to have needs and to have emotions. So it's related in that sense. Okay, brilliant. So I think writing a letter to these teachers, whether or not you send it is not important, but to express what you needed to say to them is important.
Usually I burn these things. It's not like physically.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to give anything, but like to let go of some things and actually like to forgive them, because in the end, like I still feel like a bit of I still feel anger and like injustice
Yes.
towards them, and it's also like not like I should let go of that as well.
Yeah, so writing a letter is excellent. I recommend that. That's a good idea. All good. But let's look at, because there's still some anger left. Forgiveness should never come from an inauthentic place either, where it's like, well, I want to mentally forgive them, but I'm still angry. So usually anger is that there was boundaries being crossed. Like you hurt my, where my boundaries are. And also in your voice message before the session, you described this kind of, it's hard for you to put boundaries, right? So maybe we can go into that. So when you feel this injustice and this anger, Like, can we tune into that a little bit? Good. So again, we're gonna look into the body and just feel this injustice, this anger towards them. Where in your body do you feel it?
It's like more coming from the core, like more from the chest, I would even say.
Yep.
Mm.
And what is the what's happening sensationally in that anger? Like, is it the tension? Is it heat? Is it heat?
Yes.
Yeah. But can we start just feeling a little bit, like if you put your attention right there, and you can even raise the temperature a little bit, so we're connecting to that rage, that anger. And what does the anger want right now? What does it want to express? What information does it have? What's coming up when you tune into it?
Love to scream, like just like to scream, like to say, but like loud, to like don't touch me, or don't move my mattress. Like what's wrong?
So don't fucking move my mattress. Don't move my mattress.
Mm.
What else?
They would we would hold hands with my like friend from kindergarten, and they would come and like disattach the hands. Like, don't touch me. Don't touch my hand.
Yeah. Don't touch me. Get away.
Yeah.
This is my body. These are my rules.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and don't laugh at me, like laughing at the kid how he's eating soup. Like, don't laugh at me.
Yeah. Don't make fun of me.
Yeah.
Don't shame me.
Mm.
Good. Excellent.
Mm.
I'm getting confidence here. Yeah. Really good.
Oh.
What else?
There was like once, it was Eastern, and we had to blow eggshells, and then paint them, and then hang them. And I remember that I came, like we hang them on some on like some, like a tree. And I remember that I touched one of it, and it broke, and I almost die of fear that like I would be punished of break an eggshell. And there was one woman, which was actually a kind of my, I don't know, like my only safe place in that moment. She was working in the kitchen. She was like the cook, and she saw me that I broke this egg, and I was like white. And she came to me and said, "It's all good, don't worry, it's just an egg." It was interesting because she was like, she really liked me. She was really kind to me, like especially to me. So yeah, really nice of that woman.
And what would you like to tell that your child in that moment with the egg and the fear of punishment?
It's just an eggshell. It's just an Eastern eggshell.
Yeah, but also your emotions are always valid as a child, right? So the fear wasn't coming from an unlogical place. right? So you can also say, I'm so sorry that you were so scared of making mistakes because you were usually punished for that. I'm really sorry that you had to grow up in that unsafe environment. Right? And no wonder you were feeling fear because you didn't have that many safe people around you. And the fear that the child experiences is associated to be abandoned from the tribe and dying.
Yeah.
So you can look at the situation as only an egg, but you probably were scared of dying, of not belonging, right? If you go to the extreme,
Yeah.
right? So to have a very loving, like, to not gaslight yourself in that experience where, like, oh, it was just an egg. No, actually, I'm sorry that you were terrified of making mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. Yeah, it's okay to break an egg. It's okay to not be perfect.
That's interesting. This is also like something I heard like also from my ex-partner a lot. Like you're perfect. Like, or you think you're perfect. No, I'm not. Like I'm really trying my best to be in the best version I can, but I'm not. Like I'm human.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there might be a part of you that had to develop perfectionism so that you got belonging, right?
Yeah.
And now you're probably breaking out of that because it's very constricting to be in it. But if you're constantly observed and punished on the slightest mistakes, and you're not allowed to eat a certain way, you're not allowed to do a certain thing, you get punished, then eventually you adapt and you become a perfect person for the other people. And that perfect is it costs so much energy to uphold that image.
Yeah,
But it's a survival strategy. It's not coming from I need to be perfect because it's a strategy to survive, right?
yes, in the end I'm perfect for the others, but it's not inside, it's not perfect. So
Yeah,
it's like it's the contrary. It's like really sad because I'm mm, trying to fit like all needs and all wants of everyone
yeah,
except mine.
yeah. And it's also this feels so weird for the people pleaser or the pattern of I need to be perfect. To believe that that is a good thing, but actually you're not in relationship with someone when you're playing that role because you're not you. Like you're portraying a false version of you that is really harsh on your own system, and it doesn't allow someone to get to know you. You're actually not uh, you're not creating a relationship from that place, right? Because you're only playing a role. You're not being who you are. So we might think from the outside, well, I do everything right for other people, but actually you don't. Your vulnerability, your fuck ups, your mistakes, your ability to be with everything, that is a real person. That is a relationship. But to constantly be, to be with someone who's constantly pleasing or trying to do things correct, it's also on the other side, it's very exhausting to be with someone who's like that. Because what you get on the opposite side is, why don't you trust me with who you are? Why do you think that I will not love you like for who you are? Why are you, putting this mask on, so to speak? I'm not saying that that's what your ex felt, but that can happen when people are too perfect, right? So what's going on now in the anger that you felt towards the anger that just came up in the chest?
I don't know. I don't feel it anymore. uh, uh, I don't know. I'm like I went out of it, but let's see what comes out when I write the letter.
Yeah.
I definitely will say what I need to say.
Yeah. And you can also, if you need to go in and really scream and shout and stuff like that, like sometimes I put a pillow to my mouth and I just scream whatever was needed to be yelled at, or whatever you feel is helpful for you. That's good to do it. But the anger can also come through the writing. Like,
Mm.
and what I try to do also to not filter myself, because it's so easy for us to be conscious and like, oh, I just need to forgive them. I need to be like observing their perspective, like try to come to an understanding. But that is the work that happens afterwards. In the beginning, you just want to get out the raw anger, which is like, don't fucking touch me, don't disrespect me, don't treat me unfairly. Like the kind of truth from the anger's perspective, and then the understanding and the analytical part can come in afterwards, because it needs to be expressed first, right? So, but it's really good that you right now don't feel it anymore, because that means that we're clear that right now anyway. And then things might come up, right? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I never thought even of. No, it's impressive. Like I knew that this happened, and I after years I told my parents. But I was always like telling it like with a laugh, like with the haha, yeah, it happened. But man, like there was like really oof, trapped stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
And when there's different ways to look at memories, and the way I see it is, when you have trauma is anything that you experienced was like a traumatic experience for you that you were not able to process in the moment, right? Something that you didn't understand, something that happened, a shock to the system that is unintegrated, right? When you tell that story, and you come from a very place of like a humorous place, but you haven't worked with the emotions, then it's almost like you're shutting off your emotions and just telling it like a joke to create a distance from it. Now, when you're sharing it with me, you're in the kind of rawness of the emotions that are still there. And in doing so, you're actually starting to integrate those experiences, because you're connecting to the pain that wasn't felt when it needed to be felt, right? And integrated. And once, the way that you know that you've healed like a trauma is that you can speak about it without getting emotional, but also not having distance from the actual experience, right? That's when you know, okay, actually, I have completely healed this. It's not an issue anymore. I'm not embarrassed by it. I don't feel shame. I don't feel anger towards these people. I can share it with them to their face without them getting attacked. Like, that's when you can fully say that you've healed something, right? Doesn't make the behavior that they did right, but you can come from a place of like compassion and understanding, but because you have worked through all the pain, right? And that's also when we work with forgiveness, because you're like, yeah, I want to forgive them. That is exactly, you're doing the exactly right thing, which is like forgiveness. To not forgive someone or to not having forgive them is only a punishment towards yourself, right? Because you're holding on to all of that anger. So forgiveness is actually releasing the anger in you. And so forgiveness heals you.
Yeah, so yeah, because I guess they don't even remember. They don't even like I don't know if they care
And it
if
might
they
not even been something that they even questioned, right? And that time it might be like, oh, she's just a kid, like she's 5, she doesn't know better, whatever. Or it might not even register to them at all, which is insane. I mean, in one perspective, you're like, well, how can you be so shut off from? Because when you have empathy and you're tuning into children's need, you feel their pain, right? So the only reason they didn't feel that pain is their own shut offness. So maybe they would recognize these things later. But anyway, that's a different topic. Okay, so we have looked at the 5-year-old, why you're having these shutdown experiences. The kind of, for me, it's already a clear understanding why authenticity has been scary for you, because you have just never been safe when you grew up. And also the boundary setting, like you never learned how to set a boundary. And the anger is your key to be able to set boundaries, right? As soon as you feel anger towards someone, you can always understand that there's probably a boundary that has been crossed, a need that hasn't been met the way that you need it to be. Like something is happening with emotions, and therefore your initial question is like, I don't understand why bad emotions, like why I'm not allowed to feel bad emotions. But bad emotions, if we truly understand them, they're always there with information about something. So anger is usually a boundary has been crossed, right? You feel injustice. It is intelligent, right? Sadness is very often about, well, I am not seen or understood or felt, right?
Mm.
And fear is, if I feel unsafe, right? So all of the kind of negative emotions, they're there to also ask for your needs and put boundaries. Like the emotions are the amazing guides to put boundaries or to understand when the boundaries haven't been put or when a need hasn't been met, right?
Yes, and this is where I got like confused, like when I started to understand that, like, yeah, I felt emotions every day, but I decided to not do anything about it,
Yeah.
or like even keep pleasing more, like thinking that it definitely is my fault, so I have to work more on myself, which in the end brought me to where I am now. But this is not what I feel healthy, like what should be a relationship with anyone.
Yeah.
So wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. Yeah, now that I think that I have that with me like for 27 years. 20, yeah, 27 years.
Yeah.
You take a time to like readapt and like feel safe again, and and actually being authentic, showing any kind of emotions when any kind of need is not.
Yeah.
not-
Yeah. And you are already doing it brilliantly. Like already within this call, you can access sadness and anger and fear.
yeah, no, it's time like to. It's also interesting when I feel anger or like injustice. I I would like I'm not able to speak out, like to say something. Like I would be like angry and whatever, and like "Meh," but I would not be able to go and say, hey, like this is what I feel, like my needs is not met. Not possible.
So let's just look at that quickly if it's active in you still. So I'm not allowed to express my needs, or I just see if any of these statements resonate with you. So it's like it's scary to express myself, or I'm not allowed to express my needs, or I can't. Maybe it's just I can't express myself, or something along those lines. What resonates for you in that statement?
Mm, like first, it depends, but many times I feel that I'm not allowed
Yeah.
to.
Yes. Good.
Then I also feel that if I express them, I would cause a negative feeling in someone else,
Yes.
and like, I don't want
Yeah.
that. I don't.
Yes.
I don't.
And so let me just address that first. So your negative emotions might cause someone else to feel negative emotion. That might very well be true, but that's not a bad thing. So when we have a learned behavior of constantly pleasing someone, then we never want them to come into a negative emotional experience, because that somehow means punishment towards ourselves, right? Or that means a negative experience for ourselves, whatever. So the key here is the more safe you become with your own emotions and your own pain, the more you're allowing other people to also be with their pain. Putting a boundary to someone who has never had a boundary is painful, because a child who is always doing what they want, say that they're hitting you the whole time and you're allowing it, when you say no, it's painful for them, because they're not allowed to do what they want with your body, so it feels painful. But that pain is a necessary stepping stone for them to learn this is not okay, and you will only be in this pain for a bit. And this pain is teaching you that it's not okay to hit me. And when we understand that boundaries work like that, then you have to come into the place where you recognize that uh, if you cause someone else, if your truth causes someone else pain, it is actually a loving act to do so, because they will grow through that pain. Not being in your truth so they don't feel pain is not a loving act, because it's equal. If someone, say that you hurt someone, like whatever, you did an act that hurt someone, and they don't tell you about it because they're scared that you might feel offended, that is not a relationship.
Mhm.
And you would actually be more offended by them not telling you, like, well, I didn't want to hurt you. That wasn't my intention, right? I accidentally did, but it wasn't my intention. So when they come to and they say, listen, this act really hurt me, then at first you might feel guilt. Oh no, I did something wrong. Oh, I didn't want to cause that. Yeah, but that guilt is a feedback that you needed to learn something because you did something wrong. You did something that harmed them. You feel guilty, right? I did something wrong. And then you correct it, and then you don't feel the guilt anymore. So you learned something from it. And right now, you are on the other side of that, which is I cannot share my truth with other people because they will feel pain. But what they might feel is guilt, right? And it is okay that they feel guilt. If they harmed you, they did something wrong. It wasn't their intention. And when I say wrong, I don't mean that it's objectively wrong, but say these teachers, right? If you were in that, if you had all the abilities as a 5-year-old to say, listen, this, I don't want this, and they would understand like, oh my God, we're actually harming you, then a part of them might feel guilt, but that is, in the end, it's a good thing, right? And it's kind of allowing other people to be with negative experiences because you understand that they're growing through it. So, yeah.
It's impressive because my partner, my ex-partner, was never got boundaries because of a health problem. He couldn't cry in his, like, he was not allowed to cry because of a health problem. So no one ever set boundaries to him because otherwise he would just not have like he could not breathe. So we got together. The person who cannot handle boundaries and the person who cannot set boundaries.
Which is how this universe works, right? How do you learn best where you have a pattern of I can't set boundaries? Well, you learn it with someone who is constantly crossing your boundaries because you get to learn every single time. It's like you're getting the best teacher.
Yes, definitely.
You know, and he's getting the best teacher too. The more you set boundaries, you need to learn that. It's like, oh my goodness, finally I get someone who speaks their truth, who stands in their power. Like, to be with someone who's not in their power, it doesn't feel good. Like, if I can just run over you, I'm going to start feeling bad about myself. So there's probably a part of him that also feels really bad about how he treated you or what he did because he could. And then like, okay, well, let's do that. And it doesn't feel good energetically to constantly step over someone's boundaries and not get any kind of consequence of that. It doesn't, you know?
That's the thing, and it was interesting. Like he told me now that this month I started to like say no and say like really harsh boundaries. That like and now I don't care. And now like it's and he changed so much in this month. I was like, man, how can I not? How couldn't I do that before? Like how I understand how, but
Because you needed to come to a place where you learned from it, right? So you're always ready to grow when you're ready to grow. Before that moment, you're not. So right now you're growing and you're recognizing these things, so you're starting that journey, and that's amazing. And to not have coming there before is simply because you needed to take that path where there was a limit for you, right? Where you were so low, also it felt really bad, or really came to a place where you were motivated to change, right? So usually we can change through pleasure or we change through pain. Right. So if we're really excited and want to move towards something, that's the ideal situation to create change. But most people don't. Most people are like, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, until it's not fine. And then like, okay, fine, I'll change. Because it's too painful not to change.
yes, this is where I am right now. Oh.
So if you wouldn't have gone through that journey, you would never reach that bottom, that low. And so you wouldn't have made the choice to change. So the reason that happened is so that you could come to the place where you're at right now. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and it actually feels good, like really, really good. Like even because at the moment when you go to the bottom, it only can go up, and it feels like going up, and it feels amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it will be perhaps a messy road because when you're starting to learn about boundaries, sometimes you can be like really harsh, and sometimes you can be really aggressive around it because it's messy, right? And the more you evolve, the more gentle you are because the more it's kind of already in your energy field. So like when you're in your power and it's easy for you to set boundaries, people very rarely cross your boundaries because they just feel, like an animal that's just like, fuck off if you ever come close to me. Like, or they're very loving, but they were very clearly put immediately. Like you cannot, the more you have that kind of inherent power and energy, people don't cross your boundaries because they just immediately know that here I cannot, you know, there's like a inherent respect already. So the more you come to that place, the in my experience, the less you need to kind of put boundaries because it's you're respected. You are treated well.
Yeah, because I respect myself, right? Like because
Exactly.
when I respect my feelings, my needs, no, I just
Well, yeah.
right.
Absolutely. And it's a mirror all the time, right? So if you don't have issues with boundaries, then someone won't mirror crossing your boundaries because it's not necessary for you to learn that.
Interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's
So
true.
so let's just do a last little exercise, if that's all right. And I'll ask you if you want something else from the session as well, but something that came to mind right now is it's kind of like just a little turnaround. So in this pattern of I'm not allowed to have my own needs being met, or I can't be authentic or whatever, but let's just take the needs being met because that's easier to work with. The thing that you fear most is that your needs aren't being met, right? It's the fear of like, someone will cross my boundary, someone will hurt me, my needs will not be met again. And right when you're starting to learn these things, there can be a lot of resistance towards that happening. But however, if you recognize it, your ex and anyone who is crossing your boundary, they're not doing that because they're bad people. They're spiritually your teachers that are there to invite you to put that boundary so that you learn. So the turnaround here is let's invite people to cross your boundaries so that you can meet them there with your boundary. Now, this sounds a little bit weird for people, like, what do you mean inviting it? But it's to not have resistance to that happening. Because when you're in resisting, you kind of attract it, right? What you resist persists. So when you're like, oh, I don't want this, then that happens. But when you're okay, let's invite the people cross my boundaries because then they will be my best teachers so that I can put that boundary and come into love with them again and respect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We keep that game here. Like we keep playing, setting boundaries.
Yeah, that's excellent. And it's not nice, like it's not a nice feeling when you feel because you get angry or you get sad or you get scared. And that is exactly what you wanted to work with. Like, how do I access these emotions, these painful emotions? Well, probably through someone crossing that boundary and you realizing what's happening, you communicating that that's happened, and you putting a boundary. All right. So all of that is the work that you're doing right now. Does that make sense?
Totally, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so is there anything else that you want to ask or comment or share before we wrap this up?
Well, now I understand why I had like this resistance. I knew already this morning when I started like to look through my timeline of my life where I stopped sharing my needs. Yeah, it is not like it's still, how do I say, it's so necessary. Like it's just me, it's so necessary to go through it again. So thank you, Filipa. Just thank you for being there and like como sustaining and listening and like not judging. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing your story so that other people can learn from it as well. And sharing the process and for being vulnerable and being authentic with me.
Yes. Feels so strange though. It feels like still, but no, it's part of like what's going on. It's part of it's nothing to be ashamed of. Like it happened.
Yeah. Okay. Well, lovely. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a beautiful day. And I hope that everything goes in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm gonna go write the letters immediately.
Good. Yeah, good idea. See what comes out. Okay.
Yes, Filipa. much. Have a gorgeous day.
You too. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You too.
Thanks for listening to this show. If you're interested in working with me, either through a similar session like this in a longer container, or if you want to come to any of my local events in Malaga in Spain, you can click the links in the show notes or go to my website, filippalevermark.com, to find out more.